Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another edition of Brewer's Minute. So last week on Brewer's Minute, we talked about some infinite combos in Modern. You all were awesome, you sent me a ton of deck lists and synergies, it was super sweet, really popular, and there were calls for why wasn't this combo included, or why didn't you include this one? There's so many more combos out there, so we're going to jump right back into it and have part 2 of infinite combos in Modern, and discuss 5 more infinite combos. But this is a little bit different. There's a twist this time. Instead of just being infinite combos in general, all of these combos do the same thing. These are 5 infinite combos that allow you to produce infinite mana, and better yet, they're all 2-card combos. So if you can get these 2 cards on the battlefield, sometimes with an extra condition or 2, but these 2 cards together in the right circumstance will allow you to make infinite mana, and then once you have infinite mana, you got to be able to figure out a way to win the game. I don't care how you do it. Blue Sun Zenith, a huge burn spell to the face, drawing your entire deck. Once you have infinite mana, there's almost always an easy way you can find to win the game. So a quick reminder before we get to the combos, if you enjoy Brewer's Minute and the other series here on the channel, it would be super amazing of you if you could take a minute, click the subscribe button down in the corner of your screen. It's a great way to support the channel and the site for free. So let's talk a bit about infinite mana in Modern. So first off, we have Grand Architect and Pili Pala. This is a fairly well-known combo. It's shown up a bit in competitive decks. We played it on Budget Magic a long time ago. So here's how it works. Grand Architect lets you turn artifact creatures into blue creatures and also tap untap blue creatures to add 2 colorless mana that can only be spent on artifacts, either casting them or activating them. So you can tap your Grand Architect for 2 of that mana, use it to cast your Pili Pala, and then Pili Pala says that whenever you untap it, you can pay 2 colorless mana, and you make a mana of any color. So basically, you get Grand Architect down, you get Pili Pala down, you turn Pili Pala blue, you can tap Pili Pala, using Grand Architect's ability to make 2 mana only for artifacts and activating their abilities. Since Pili Pala is an artifact, you use the 2 mana it produces to untap it and make 1 real mana of any color. So once you turn it blue, you can just tap and untap your Pili Pala over and over again, make an infinite amount of mana of any color. Really simple, no crazy conditions, 2 cards, infinite mana, then you win the game somehow. Next we have one that is a bit jankier, Astral Cornucopia and Filigree Sages. So the combo here is probably pretty apparent. Filigree Sages lets you pay 2 and a blue to untap an artifact. Astral Cornucopia is an artifact that can theoretically tap for a ton of mana. It costs triple X to cast, but then you get a charge counter for each X that you paid, and then you can tap it to add a mana of any color equal to the number of charge counters. So for 3 mana it has 1 counter, 6 mana 2 counters. The idea is to get Astral Cornucopia up to at least 4 counters, and then you can just tap it to add 4 mana, then use Filigree Sages to untap it for only 3 mana. So each time you tap and untap it, you're netting 1 mana in the process. The problem is, with the triple X cost, you'd have to spend like 12 mana to get 4 counters on Astral Cornucopia. But if we get creative with Proliferate, using like Steady Progress and Contagion Clasp, we can cast Astral Cornucopia with just 1 charge counter, and then add more counters to it as the game goes along. Our next combo, I cheated a bit here. This is sort of like a 2.5 card combo because it requires 3 cards, but 1 is a land, so the opportunity cost is low, and lands are not real cards. So anyway, you need Intruder Alarm, you need something that can untap lands, like Kiora's Follower, there's also other options, and a Forbidden Orchard. Then what you do is, you tap your Forbidden Orchard for mana, which gives your opponent a 1/1 colorless spirit token, which triggers Intruder Alarm to untap everything, and with that untap trigger on the stack, you use Kiora's Follower to untap your Forbidden Orchard, and then your Intruder Alarm is going to untap your Kiora's Follower. You have an untapped Forbidden Orchard, you tap Forbidden Orchard for mana, Intruder Alarm untaps everything, Kiora's Follower untaps Forbidden Orchard, which gets untapped by Intruder Alarm. You loop around, infinite mana of any color. Just be warned, this combo also gives your opponent an infinite number, or a number equal to the amount of mana you produce, of 1/1 colorless spirit tokens, so you gotta win the game on the spot, 100%. If you don't win the game on the spot, your opponent is going to untap and just attack you with like 100 1/1 spirits and you're going to die. So make sure you can win the game on the spot if you build around this one. Our next combo is super simple. Nivix Guildmage is a 2/2 for 2 that lets you pay 2, a blue and a red, to copy an instant or sorcery you control. Channel the Suns is a sorcery that theoretically you can control if you put it in your deck that adds a mana of every color. It costs 3 and a green. So you get your Nivix Guildmage down, make sure you have enough mana, cast Channel of the Suns, you activate Nivix Guildmage to copy Channel of the Suns, adding a mana of any color. Then, with the mana Channel of Suns produces, you use 2 of whatever color, a red and a blue, copy Channel of the Suns again, then you get another Channel of the Suns, use that mana, copy Channel of the Suns. So you make this huge stack of Channel of the Suns, and since Channel of the Sun gives you 5 mana, but only costs you 4 mana, each time you copy it, you're gaining 1 mana. Just be warned, you can't make infinite blue or red mana. When you go through this loop, you can get infinite white, infinite black, infinite green, but your blue and red mana is going into Nivix Guildmage, so when you build your finisher into the deck, make sure that it involves using white, black, green, or colorless mana, and not using red or blue mana, because you will not have infinite red or blue mana. Last but not least, we have what seems like it could be the most competitive. This is like the Splinter Twin of infinite mana combos in Modern, because it is super, super cheap. So Bloom Tender, 2 mana, 1/1. It taps to add a mana for each color of permanence you control. So if you have just Bloom Tender, it taps to add a green mana. However, the more colors of permanence you control, the more mana it taps for. Enter Freed from the Wheel, a 3 mana enchantment that goes on a creature, and it lets you tap or untap the enchanted creature for a single blue mana. So that gives you another color of permanence, blue. So Bloom Tender, with a Freed from the Wheel on the battlefield, on the Bloom Tender, will tap for 2 mana, 1 green, 1 blue, and then you can use your Freed from the Wheel, paying the 1 blue mana to untap Bloom Tender. Then you tap Bloom Tender, adding 2 mana, a green and a blue, use the blue mana, untap Bloom Tender. So you go infinite with green mana, so make sure your finisher involves green mana, not the other colors. You can, if you get other colors of permanence, get those in there as well, but the easiest way to do this is just turn 2 Bloom Tender, turn 3 Freed from the Wheel, and it essentially has haste. Remember, is as soon as Freed from the Wheel comes down, you tap Bloom Tender, untap it with your Freed from the Wheel, so you don't have to wait another turn or untap or anything, which is why I'm excited about the potential of this one, just because it seems a lot like Splinter Twin, except just cheaper. You cast a 2 mana card into a 3 mana card, and all of a sudden you have infinite mana, and you figure out a way from there to win the game somehow. You can even use it with Pactive Negations, perhaps, other counter spells for protection, and once you go infinite, you just win the game that turn, and everything is awesome. Anyway, that's been our 5 infinite mana 2-card combos for Modern, and that's been our Brewer's Minute for today. So like last week, if you have ideas of how to build around these combos, make them competitive and fun and sweet, make sure to let me know in the comments. Also, make sure to check out the Against the Odds that went up a couple of days ago. It is featuring a poll that contains the combos from last week's Brewer's Minute, so you can vote in that, and we will be playing one of those combos for Against the Odds next week. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon.